Your ascendant sign or rising sign. So I have another video that you should watch. Why the hell is the rising sign so important? So I'll put the link below. I have a unique take on the rising sign. Some people might think I don't like rising signs. They are the mask you wear. They are the defense mechanism you have to the world. But they are also, interestingly enough, the point at which you enter the earth. This becomes the environment that you're born into. Is it the chicken or the egg? Were you born into this environment and then that became your personality because it was what surrounded you? Or were you that way in a past life and then you come into that particular point in time to this earth because that's what you are? Well, I think it's both. We're born into an environment where this projection of who we wish we were is seen as positive. Our environment, our parents, our family, our culture, our church group, whatever, they want us to be this. They might even think that this is who we are. If your rising sign is the opposite sign of your sun sign, I'm sorry. Because you probably feel like your parents don't really know who you are. You might be 35 years old and they still have no idea who you are. That's kind of painful. If you have the same rising sign as your sun sign, that's awesome. There's an authenticity that comes across with you. You are so used to being true to who you are. That is great. If your rising sign is square to your sun, this is also an uncomfortable position where you probably feel like it's really hard to step into your sun sign. You just don't feel exactly comfortable being your true self. When we're kids, we usually look a lot like our rising sign. As we get older, we start to look more like our sun sign or our moon sign, especially if we start becoming that. You are what you eat. What you are inside starts representing itself to your exterior self. It's important to know what your rising sign is because you might be carrying a bunch of weight from the past that we can then release in this video. Be able to embrace more of who you truly are. The rising sign, it's the movie we're watching of what we think the world is because the environment we were born into said, hey, Cancer ascendant, you are a Cancer. You should act like a Cancer. We're going to reward you for being a Cancer. And the whole world we put around you is also going to see you as a Cancer. So in a way, our rising sign is less about who we really are, and it's more about what we see and project the world as. We act a certain way because this is our strongest foot forward in the world around us. Your ascendant is how you go about getting things. When you're little especially, let's say you're a Cancer ascendant. Your dad is watching TV and you want to watch your movie. And you go in there and you give the most cute, adorable, innocent little Cancer big eyes. And of course, nobody can resist. Or you're an Aries ascendant. And so you just go in there and you just change the channel. Take that. An ascendant is also how you survive elementary school and your siblings. When we become nervous, when we become uncomfortable, when we feel like we can't be ourselves, when we feel like somebody wants a fake presentation of who we really are, in walks the rising sign. Ta-da! Very useful to have. But to be happier in life and to be more of who you really are, being authentic is what it's all about. So become more like your sun sign, become more like your north node, become more like your moon sign. And don't let anybody force you into, you need to act a certain way to please them, Libra. Now, am I recommending to just lose all the traits of your rising sign and pretend like it doesn't exist? Treat it as something negative? No, of course not. A defense mechanism in nature is very useful. There are going to be situations where your rising sign is going to be very good for you to have. Like in a job interview, when someone's trying to treat you poorly, you can use your rising sign as a protection mechanism. All right, so without further ado, your ascendant. Capricorn ascendant. This is a person that when they're born, they look older than they really obviously are. Just come across as an older kind of person. They could be really bossy as children. They think it's their job to orchestrate and organize everything. They know where everything is, who should be doing what. They're usually pretty good at organizing. Of course, they're children, so not everybody wants to listen to them. As a child on the negative side, maybe you had an upbringing where everything was disorganized, dysfunctional, nobody was really running anything, your parents were just busy and they didn't have time for taking care of everything, or they weren't very structured people. On the other side, the positive side, maybe you had a parent who was very structured, the boss of some sort, and really encouraged those traits out of you. You wanted to be just like them and please them so badly. A Capricorn ascendant Seems very bossy, but at the same time, they're usually trying to work for the greater good. They're not angling for something all about themselves. Even though they have the best intentions, usually people don't want to do what they're told. Although a Capricorn ascendant is pretty good at getting people to do what they're told. They often have people come up and ask for advice because they just have that sense like they know what they're doing. They're very ambitious. As children, they'll probably feel a lot of pressure to succeed in school. They'll probably try to be the perfect student, try to be recognized for all of their straight A's. Just like a Virgo, they're very hard on themselves and they're very ambitious. Even though they're extremely hardworking, they keep raising the bar on themselves. It's not enough to just be top student in the small town. They have to go to the regional and then they have to go nationwide. And it's always more and more and more and more status and more recognition. A lot of times they feel like they won't be loved if they aren't the best. Their parents often brag about them, but not in front of them. Usually a Capricorn ascendant, their parents will be very harsh with them, but then brag about them to their friends. A Capricorn ascendant also kind of parents themselves because they are born so structured. They usually don't need much discipline because they are constantly disciplining themselves. Even though they are very ambitious, they are also very cautious. They're looking for that structure, everything just perfectly balanced. You have to have the ambition, but also follow it up with the work ethic and the caution. They're not likely to be the type to just want to go and gamble. I think probably a Capricorn ascendant is like the least likely to be a gambler. They usually dress very reserved, conservative. They come across as serious. People might be intimidated, be curious about them, but feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to measure up, so I better just steer clear of them. Like a Capricorn ascendant feels more comfortable in the role of the boss than they do naturally about, friendship and camaraderie. Leadership is just a natural fit for them. A Capricorn ascendant, often they have a childhood where they're not encouraged to have fun. Their parents might be super serious. The parents where they're like, you shouldn't do baby talk with your children. That kind of parent. Every toy that they give them is educational. They always have a lot of people counting on them because they can handle so much, but then they feel like they have to be responsible and it can hold them back from what they really want to do, which has more to do with their sun sign or their moon sign. So be careful that you don't overweigh yourself with responsibilities and taking care of other people all the time. They come across very strong and capable in public. When they enter a room, they have a very reserved composure. They've learned at a young age to hide their feelings. They repress. So it's hard for them to explore their emotions. Sometimes this comes in the form of sexuality, a feeling repressed, maybe a religious kind of thing. But a Capricorn ascendant feels such a responsibility to have that kind of cold exterior, emotionless face, to not express anything. Stoic. That's a good word. All right, hope you guys liked my take on Capricorn ascendant. Come back for Aquarius ascendant.